uh, reading. So there are less verses in this, but that one important theme comes out in one of the verses. Prabhupada also mentions in the purport. But yeah, so there are 30 verses. So let's just do 10, 10, 10. So who would like to go first? Okay, Krishnan Prabhu can go first.
Maybe you want to say the prayers first, Prabhu?
I usually say after the verses,
Okay.
but
Okay. Yeah.
whatever
Yeah,
works.
no. Well, let's do that. I'll just read it. Text 1. Sri Sukdev Goswami said, after instructing Indra in this way, Supreme Personality of Godhead, Hari, the cause of the cosmic manifestation, then and there disappeared from the presence of the onlooking demigods. O King Parikshit, following the Lord's instructions, the demigods approached Dadichi, the son of Atharva. He was very liberal, and when they begged him to give them his body, he at once partially agreed. However, just to hear religious instructions from them, he smiled and jokingly spoke as follows: O elevated demigods, at the time of death, severe unbearable pain takes away the consciousness of all living entities who have accepted material bodies. Do you know about this pain? In this material world, every living entity is very much addicted to his material body. Struggling to keep his body forever, everyone tries to protect it by all means, even at the sacrifice of all his possessions, even at the sacrifice of all his possessions. Therefore, who would be prepared to deliver his body to anyone, even if it were demanded by Lord Vishnu? The demigods replied, O exalted Brahmana, pious persons like you, whose activities are praiseworthy, are very kind and affectionate to people in general. What can't such pious souls give for the benefit of others? They can give everything, including their bodies. Those who are too self interested beg something from others, not knowing of others' pain. But if the beggar knew the difficulty of the giver, he would not ask for giving. Similarly, he who is able to give charity does not know the beggar's difficulty, for otherwise he would not refuse to give the beggar anything he might want as charity. The great sage Dadichi said, just to hear from you about religious principles, I refuse to offer my body at your request. Now, although my body is extremely dear to me, I must give it up for your better purposes, since I know that it will leave me today or tomorrow. O demigods, one who has no compassion for humanity in its suffering and does not sacrifice his impermanent body for the higher cause of religious principles or eternal glory, is certainly pitied even by the immovable beings. If one is unhappy to see the distress of other living beings and happy to see their happiness, his religious principles are appreciated as imperishable by exalted persons who are considered pious and benevolent. This body, which is eatable by jackals and dogs after death, does not actually do any good for me, the spirit soul. It is usable only for a short time and may perish at any moment. The body and its possessions, its riches and relatives must be engaged for the benefit of others, or else they will be sources of tribulation and misery.
Sorry, Kameshwar Prabhu can go ahead. I think you're muted, Prabhu.
Yeah, sorry, Prabhu. Yeah, now Sri Shukadeva Goswami said, Dadichi Muni, the son of Atharva, thus resolved to give his body to the service of the demigods. He placed himself, the spirit soul, at the lotus feet of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, and in this way gave up his gross material body made of 5 elements. Dadichi Muni controlled his senses, life force, mind, and intelligence, and became absorbed in trance. Thus, he cut all his material bonds. He could not perceive how his material body became separated from himself. Thereafter, King Indra very firmly took up the thunderbolt manufactured by Vishwakarma from the bones of Dadichi. Charged with the exalted power of Dadichi Muni and enlightened by the power of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Indra rode on the back of his carrier Airavata, surrounded by all the demigods, while all the great sages offered him praise. Thus he stoned very beautifully, pleasing the three worlds as he rode off to kill Vṛtrāsura. Thereafter, at the end of Satyayuga and the beginning of
No, Prabhu, you missed the previous verse.
Yeah, my dear King Parikshit, as Rudra being very angry at Antaka, Yamaraja had formerly run toward Antaka to kill him. Indra angrily and with great force attacked Vṛtrāsura, who was surrounded by the leaders of the demonic armies. Thereafter, at the end of Satyayuga and the beginning of Tretayuga, a fierce battle took place between the demigods and the demons on the bank of the Narmada. O king, when all the asuras came into the battlefield, headed by Vṛtrāsura, they saw King Indra carrying the thunderbolt and surrounded by the Rudras, Vasus, Adityas, Ashwini Kumaras, Pitas, Vahnis, Maruts, Rubus, Satyas, and Visvadevas. Surrounded by his company, Indra shone so brightly that his effulgence was intolerable to the demons. Many hundreds and thousands of demons, demons, yakshas, rakshasas, man-eaters, and others, headed by Somali and Mali, resisted the armies of King Indra, which even death personified cannot easily overcome. Among the demons were Namuchi, Sambara, Anarva, Dvimurda, Vrushaba, Asura, Hayagriva, Shankushira, Viprachit, Ayomukha, Puloma, Vrshapara, Praheti, Heti, and Utkala. Roaring tumultuously and fearlessly like lions, these invincible demons, all dressed in golden ornaments, gave pain to the demigods with weapons like clubs, bulgions, arrows, barbed darts, mallets, and lances.
Thank you, Pranay. Okay, I'll complete
So
maybe.
Megha Mataji said she can read. If she's around, she raised her hand in the beginning.
Okay, do you want to read, Mataji?
Yes, I can go.
Yeah.
Armed with lances, tridents, axes, swords, and other weapons like shatagnis and bushundis, the demons attacked from different directions and scattered all the chiefs of the demigod armies. As the stars in the sky cannot be seen when covered by dense clouds, the demigods being completely covered by networks of arrows falling upon them one after another could not be seen. The showers of various weapons and arrows released to kill the soldiers of the demigods did not reach them because the demigods, acting quickly, cut the weapons into thousands of pieces in the sky. As the weapons and mantras decreased, the demons began showering mountain peaks, trees, and stones upon the demigod soldiers. But the demigods were so powerful and expert that they nullified all these weapons by breaking them to pieces in the sky as before. When the soldiers of the demons, commanded by Vṛtrāsura, saw the soldiers of King Indra were quite well, having not been injured at all by the volleys of weapons, not even by the trees, stones and mountain peaks, the demons were very much afraid. And insignificant persons use rough words to cast false, angry accusations against saintly persons, their fruitless words do not disturb the great personalities. Similarly, all the efforts of the demons against the demigods who were favorably situated under the protection of Krishna were futile. The asuras, who are never devoted to Lord Krishna, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, lost their pride in the fighting when they found all their endeavors futile. Leaving aside their leader, even in the very beginning of the fight, they decided to flee because all their prowess had been taken away by the enemy. Seeing his army broken and all the asuras, even those known as great heroes, fleeing the battlefield out of intense fear, Vṛtrāsura, who was truly a great-minded hero, smiled and spoke the following words.
You can finish off, Mataji, the remaining 3 verses also.
According to his position and the time and circumstances, Vṛtrāsura, the hero among heroes, spoke words that were much to be appreciated by thoughtful men. He called to the heroes of the demons, O Vipra Chitti, O Namuchi, Puloma, O Maya, Anarva, Shambhara, please hear me and do not flee. Vṛtrāsura said, all living entities who have taken birth in this material world must die. Surely, no one in this world has found any means to be saved from death. Even Providence has not provided a means to escape it. Under the circumstances, death being inevitable, if one can gain promotion to the higher planetary systems and be always celebrated here by dying a suitable death, what man will not accept such a glorious death? There are 2 ways to meet a glorious death, and both are very rare. One is to die after performing mystic yoga, especially bhakti yoga, by which one can control the mind and living force and die absorbed in thought of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. The second is to die on the battlefield, leading the army and never showing one's back. These 2 kinds of death are recommended in the Shastra as glorious.
Thank you, Mataji. उमज्ञानतिमिरन्धस्य ज्ञानाञ्जनशलाकया चक्षुरुन्मिलितं येन तस्मै श्रीगुरवे नमः. श्रीचैतन्यमनोभीष्टं स्थापितं येन भूतले स्वयं रूपः कदा मह्यं ददाति स्वपदान्तिकम्. वन्देऽहं श्रीगुरोः श्रीयुतापदकमलं श्रीगुरून् वैष्णवांश्च. श्रीरूपं साग्रजातं सहगणरघुनाथान्वितं तं सजीवं साद्वैतं सावधूतं परिजनासहितं कृष्णचैतन्यदेवं श्रीराधाकृष्णपादान् सहगणललिता श्रीविशाखान्वितांश्च. नमः ओं विष्णुपदाय कृष्णप्रेष्ठाय भूतले श्रीमते भक्तिवेदांत स्वामिनीति नामिने. नमस्ते सरस्वते देवे गौरवाणी प्रचारिणे निर्विशेषशून्यवादी पाश्चात्यदेशतारिणे. नमो महावदन्याय कृष्णप्रेम प्रदायते कृष्णाय कृष्णचैतन्य नामिने गौरद्विषे नमः. हे कृष्ण करुणा सिंधो दीनबंधो जगत्पते गोपेश गोपिकाकांत राधाकांत नमोस्तुते. तप्त कांचन गौरांगी श्री राधे वृंदावनेश्वरी वृषभानुसुते देवी प्रणमामि हरिप्रिये. वाञ्छाकल्पतरुभ्यश्च कृपा सिन्धुभ्य एव च पतितानां पावनेभ्यो वैष्णवेभ्यो नमो नमः. जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर श्रीवासादि गौर भक्तवृंद. हरे कृष्ण 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे हरे. मूकं करोति वाचालं पंगुं लंघायते गिरिं यत्कृपातमहं वन्दे श्रीगुरुं दीनतारणम्. Hare Krishna, dear devotees. Thank you again for joining, and apologies again for being a little off while narrating the recap for this story. But yeah, so here we are in the pastime of Vṛtrāsura, where the Lord has instructed the demigods to go and ask for the body of Dadichi to make the weapon by which Vṛtrāsura could be killed and the demons could be defeated. And that's what the demigods do. They go to Dadichi and they request for his body. Now, the conversation that ensues between the demigods and Dadichi is a little interesting. So Dadichi sort of tries to play with them. He tries to argue with them, but then eventually he agrees. He agrees to give his body, and he does give his body. So of course, multiple themes come out of this chapter, and one theme, of course, before we get into the theme that I mentioned on the group about health in Krishna consciousness, the one more important thing that we can meditate on, especially when we are trying to give Krishna to others, is this. If one is unhappy to see the distress of other living beings and happy to see their happiness, his religious principles are appreciated as imperishable by exalted persons who are considered pious and benevolent. So this is the concept of paradukha dukhi, right? And here Prabhupada mentions the example of Lord Chaitanya and the six Goswamis. For the benefit of everyone else, they uh, they uh, gave up all their opulence, right? Here this verse is quoted: "Tyaktva sudushtyaja sudush shudus tyaktva sudushtyaja surepsita rajya lakshmi." So essentially, what it means here is we offer our respectful obeisance to the lotus feet of the Lord, upon whom one should always meditate. Uh, he left his householder life. So this is describing the activities of the Lord. He left his householder life, leaving aside his eternal consort, whom even the denizens of heaven adore. He went into the forest to deliver the fallen souls who are put into illusory illusion by material energy. So here, now this is also an interesting thing. The interpretation that Gaudiya Vaishnavas take out of this is that this verse refers to Lord Chaitanya. But what do you think, other devotees, those who are not within the Gaudiya Sampradaya, who do you think they say that this verse refers to? Any ideas? So who was the Lord who left his householder life, leaving aside his eternal consort? He went into the forest. Very famous.
Bharata?
Is
Mm,
Gautam Buddha? Gautam?
no. Bharat, who is you mean Bharat Maharaj of which one? Like
Bharat Maharaj, Jada Bharat.
Jada Bharat Maharaj. Yeah. Mm, you could say that. You could say that.
I
But
think I think somebody else said Gautam Buddha too.
Buddha, maybe. Yeah. Yeah, these are all right answers, definitely. But yeah, there is one more which suit.
Rishabh,
No, it's not so deep actually. Very simple.
Shiva?
No. Incarnation of Vishnu.
Incarnation of Vishnu who left home?
Who left home, went to the forest. Let's just take these two facts. He left home, went to the forest. Who was he? And he also got separated from his consort.
Lord Rama?
Lord
Yeah,
Ram.
yeah. So the other Vaishnavas who are from other sampradayas and things like, they take this verse to mean Lord Ram. I had read this in Tattva Sandarbha. So there are many such verses which the Gaudiyas say that they refer to Lord Chaitanya, but they are there in the Bhagavatam. Now Bhagavatam is not just a Gaudiya scripture; it's a Vaishnava scripture. All sampradayas accept that. But the thing about Sanskrit is multiple interpretations can be true at the same time. That is the beauty of the Sanskrit language and the beauty of the Shastras. But anyway, so this is what they say, that he left his householder life, leaving aside his consort. Yeah, he was separated from his consort. And then he went to the forest to deliver the fallen souls who are put into illusion by material energy. So there is also some interpretation to this, which I forget now. But in any case, yeah, I didn't want to go into that interpretation thing. But yeah, so coming back to this paradukha dukhi aspect, right? So here, Prabhupada is quoting Lord Chaitanya. He's narrating, he's telling how Lord Chaitanya left householder life. He had a very nice householder life, very young and beautiful wife, and a very affectionate mother, and he left all that and took sannyas, right? And he did that only so that he can be accepted as a respected person within the society, so that people would take his preaching of the holy name of Krishna seriously. So that's what Lord Chaitanya did. Even the six Goswamis also, they this is a famous verse: "Taktva turnam ashesha mandalapati shrenim sada tuchchavat putva dina ganeshikau karunaya kaupina kanthashritau." So they were like mandalapatis, ashesha mandalapati shrenim, like they were ministers. These this Rupa and Sanatan Goswami and all others Raghunath Das Goswami, whose appearance date is today, was from a very wealthy family, right? All these Goswamis, they were very well off, actually. If you look at it, they could have easily spent their lives in a lot of comforts, but they gave those up for just to show mercy to the fallen souls of the world. Deena Ganesha Kau Karunaya, right? And this is, yeah, so here Prabhupada writes about Paradukha Dukhi, how the Lord, the devotees are Paradukha Dukhi. They are, a Vaishnava is Paradukha Dukhi. He is always unhappy to see the conditioned souls in an unhappy state of materialism. Therefore, a Vaishnava is always busy preaching Krishna consciousness throughout the world. So yeah, when we try to give Krishna to others, or when we try to give Krishna to our family members, uh, we should try to be in this consciousness that, yeah, and Prabhupada actually displayed this consciousness very nicely in a very intense way. Actually, he would shed tears seeing the sufferings of these hippies and everyone, right? When he entered the US, he wrote Markine Bhagavata Dharma, and he writes Rajastamo Gune Era Sabai Yachana, right? All these people here are just, drowned in Rajogun and Tamogun. So, your Katha is the only thing that can save them. So please give them the taste in your Katha. Prabhupada is praying, and he shed tears for all of us, actually. And because he shed tears, because he exhibited that great degree of Paradukha Dukhi consciousness, that is why he did what he did, and he strove so hard to give Krishna to everyone. So that is just some meditation that I wanted to have. Yes, Nitya Mataji is asking, isn't Lord Ram's situation a lot different in that he did leave for the forest with his consort, but due to circumstances, his consort was abducted? Yes, yes. That is true. In this translation, that is true. That doesn't make sense. But there is some interpretation again. The Sanskrit words have been interpreted in a way. Even like those who are put into illusion by material energy, right? That is also interpreted actually. I think the interpretation goes to Marichi, right? Marichi came into the illusion of the deer, and he disguised himself as a deer, and then to kill him, Lord Ram went, right? So in that sense, he's killing the illusion, so like that. But yeah, it's a game of interpretation actually. So, but yeah, you're right about that. Yeah, but yeah, that is one meditation on this. So if anybody wants to quickly share about anything about this, they can share, and then we can move on to the main theme for today. Okay.
Hare Krishna Prabhu.
Yes.
I have like a reflection and a question. So one reflection is, I think, when you said that Prabhupada cried for all of us, that really like hit me very, 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 very deep. And I think just being in this movement and trying to follow the instructions and the path laid by him is it just show it, I just wanted to highlight the importance, and it was a great reminder. Thank you for that. And one question I have is so like people are all of us have different characteristics, so some of them come under the category of empaths, and empaths are in some sense paradukha dukhi, like they really take others pain as their own. How do we draw the line between letting that affect us versus trying to come up with if we are able to help them, then we help them. If not, we just do it in an indirect way in the form of a prayer or something like that. Because a lot of our Guru Maharajs, they are actually like paradukha dukhi, like they actually like understand others' pain. But I've also seen, especially I've closely observed by Shishika Maharaj, but I've also noticed that he has this like really good boundary between not letting that affect him personally, because if that affects him, then all of his other services might get affected. But he's still able to like empathize, and I think I really suffer with drawing that boundary. Do you have any thoughts on that?
That's a good question. I mean, I can share a few things, and others can also add. yes, we need to feel the sufferings of others. We need to feel empathy, like that. And but then there are two things, right? One is how do we how do we help them? Like we might see somebody suffering, and then so what is the best way to help them? We'll have to see. So the best way to help them is not, yeah, you can give them food, you can give them shelter. That these are definitely great things. Okay. And these should be done. And but at the same time, that is not the permanent solution. That also we need to understand. The permanent solution is to give them Krishna consciousness, by which they can not only take care of the immediate needs of food, clothing, and shelter, but also uplift them spiritually. So that is why Prabhupada had said that, within the 10 mile radius of temple, of any ISKCON temple, no one should go hungry, is what Prabhupada said. He gave a very lofty goal. So he said you should do food for life, you should distribute prasadam. Now, by distributing prasadam, both things are fulfilled in one sense, right? Those who are hungry, their bellies are fulfilled, but at the same time, because they are eating prasadam, they are also spiritually getting uplifted, right? So, and that is the final ultimate solution, because we might give them food, let's say non-prasadam, we might give them food now and then, but that doesn't really solve their issue of the quality of their life and quality of their consciousness mainly. So that is why there is this constant tug of war between, one group of people say that, uh, you all, um, you all devotees of God, bhaktas, you all waste all these resources on doing abhishek for the Lord, and when there are people going hungry, outside the temple, temple के बाहर भीख मांग रहे लोग और तुम लोग दूध वेस्ट कर रहे हो अभिषेक में, they say the such things, right? Of course, that is a different issue, but the tug of war is between Manav Seva and Madhav Seva, service to humanity or service to the Lord. And typically we see both of these as mutually exclusive zones, but that is not true, right? Manav Seva in and of itself has limitations. We can't, it's not like a elevation of consciousness. But on the other hand, Madhava Seva is an elevation of consciousness. So you have to see that intersection between the two and then do it like that. So that is the thing, right? So when all these devotees like Vaisheshika Maharaj, they feel those tribulations of other sufferings. But what do they preach Krishna consciousness. They do that, and that is their mission. That is their mission. So their empathy is not uh, their empathy is not selfish. So there is a difference. If I am, if I say that I feel the suffering of someone else, and I'm just morose that I cannot do anything, I cannot do anything, I cannot do anything, right? That means there is a subtle I coming into the picture. But when I say that, I have this gift of Krishna consciousness given to me by my gurus, so let me share it with them. So now the focus is, giving Krishna consciousness to them. So like that, I think that aspect is there. And yeah, I don't know if anybody else wants to chime in on this. Like, where do we draw the boundary?
Thank you, Prabhu. That's something I think about. Thank you very much for sharing your thoughts.
Anybody else has any thoughts on this aspect? Empathy, how do we draw the line? Okay, no worries. Cool. So yeah, I hope Lekha Mataji, that was at least it answered some of the things. We can discuss more on this. It's a very important topic, and on one hand, we don't want to stop feeling empathy for others, and on the other hand, we also want to do something worthwhile in whatever capacity we can to help others. So, and
Thank you, Prabhu.
prayers-
Thank you for sharing your. Sorry, go ahead.
No, sorry. Yeah, no, prayers are another very important aspect. We may or may not be able to do any material change to people who are suffering, for instance, in the war that's going on right now.
Yeah.
We can take weapons and go and fight for them. That is
Yeah.
not practical.
Yeah.
And most of us are not even capable of doing that. So then what can we do, right? We want to help them. We feel that empathy, we feel their suffering. But then prayer is the answer there. We need to really sincerely pray for them. And not like in a, okay, I prayed and that's it. The burden is off of me. Not in that sense, but really genuinely pray for them
Yeah,
that,
absolutely.
may Krishna help them overcome this situation and things like that.
Yeah. Yeah. Great points, Prabhu. Thank you very much. Yeah.
Thank you, Mataji. Thank you. And yes, moving on. So there is this, I remember many years ago, I was in a class, and in the class, this devotee listed 5 things. He listed health, family, sevas, personal sadhana, and one more thing, I forget what that is. He listed these 5 things, and then
Work.
work, occupation, yeah, work. So he listed these 5 things, and then he said, which should be the topmost priority for a devotee. Right? Everybody gave different answers. We were around 20, 30 devotees in that class. One person said, no, personal sadhana should be highest. One devotee said, no, family. I was always saying family, family, family. I don't know why, what was into me that day. But what is the first thing that, actually Bhakti Vinod Thakur writes about this. So Bhakti Vinod Thakur defines these 5 aspects, and then he writes down the priority of these 5 things, which should be at what priority level. So what do you think? Yes, Krishnan Prabhu is exactly right. So Bhakti Vinod Thakur said health is the topmost. And it is interesting. I'll pull out the other 5. I still have that the picture of that board on which he had written that, devotee had written that. So I'll pull out the others. But yeah, health is the first one. So health is the topmost priority, right? And here in this chapter, when the demigods go and ask Dadichi for his bones, Dadichi says, every living entity is much addicted to his material body, struggling to keep his body forever. Everyone tries to protect it by all means, even at the sacrifice of all his possessions. Therefore, who would be prepared to deliver this body to anyone, even if it were demanded by Lord Vishnu? So it's what Dadiji says. And then in the purport, Prabhupada quotes this verse. I could not find a source, but Atmanam sarvato rakshet tato dharmam tato dhanam. One must protect his body by all means, right? First body. Then he may protect his religious principles and thereafter his possessions. So this is the natural desire of all living entities. No one wants to give up his body unless it is forcibly given away. Right. So Prabhupada says here, he quotes this that, first of all, one must protect one's body, and then one's dharma, and then one's dhanam, that is possessions. So it is interesting that, again, going back to Bhakti Vinod Thakur's, this analysis. So the reason they say Bhakti Vinod Thakur wrote that is because health, you know, whatever else you do, you might do seva, you might do personal sadhana, you might take care of your family, or you might do your occupational duty. All these things are not possible unless we have health. And that is the reason Bhaktivinoda Thakur said that health is the top priority. And that is what we, the guidance that we get from senior mentors is the same, that, take care of your health. Don't compromise your health, even in the name of Krishna consciousness, even in the name of too much bhakti, too much intense Krishna consciousness. If you compromise your health, then what happens is, for that particular moment of time, that particular temporary period of time, we might be able to completely stretch ourselves and practice bhakti and do whatever is needed, seva and whatnot. But then, because we stretch like that, the repercussions will come. The health repercussions will come. And when the repercussions come, and if they come in a very strong way, then we won't be able to do anything that time. Rather than that, we don't stretch ourselves so much that we'll be burnt out. But at the same time, we keep stretching little by little, and then but we keep maintaining our health. So that is the recommendation that is given by many devotees. And Krishna also says in the Gita, right? Yuktahara viharasya yukta cheshtasya karmasu yukta swapnava bodhasya yogo bhavati dukkha. So Krishna is saying, yukta ahara, one who is regulated in his eating, yukta vihara, one who is regulated in his sleeping, viharasya, yukta cheshtasya, one who is regulated in his recreation, karmasu, regulated in his activities, right? Yukta swapnava bodhasya. I don't know what swapnava bodhasya means, but in any case, so Krishna is basically saying one who is regulated in all these aspects of life, such a person can actually advance in spiritual life. So Krishna is saying in the 6th chapter of the Gita. So yeah, that is the thing, right? Here is the trade-off. Here is the question that I want to put forth here and then open it up for discussion. So what is the limit? Like, where do we draw the line, right? On one hand, we should maintain our health, but it should not go to such an extreme that we don't we, let's say, stop doing our sevas, or we don't do as many sevas as, or we don't practice spirituality at the level which we can, which we are able to, but we can't, in the name of maintaining health. And the other extreme also, how should we avoid, that we want to do so much that we get burnt out, our health gets affected. So with that question, I'll open it up for discussion. um, uh, yeah, so what are your thoughts on this? Yes, Krishnan Prabhu, please.
Hare Krishna Prabhu, and this reminded me of I think it was Srila Prabhupada said that health is number one, chanting is number two, and service is number three, or something like that. And obviously we want to protect our health because the body is a temple of the Lord, and that's where the super soul resides. And obviously we don't want to, so we want to take good care of it. But as Dadichi Muni said, we don't want to also get, completely attached to it. So yeah, those were my thoughts, Prabhu. I don't know how to resolve this, but yeah, even I have the same question that you had, I guess.
Sorry, I was muted. Yeah, we want to advance in bhakti, and for that, in theory, we know that we need to stretch a little. If we always stay in the comfort zone, then that is again not recommended. So we have to stretch a little, but that little is very subjective, right? So yeah, anyone has any other thoughts on this? And again, now I want to expand the scope of health here also. So it's just not physical health that we are talking about. We can extend it to mental and emotional health as well, right? So it's not just about Gaur Kumar Prabhu, I and all of us, we discuss this sometimes. If we have a desire, if we have a thought, if we have an idea of how to serve, then we should not just suppress it in the name of humility, right? So it's not just about physical health, it's not just about the health of the gross body, but it's also the health of the subtle body that matters. So how much should we suppress our inner emotions and in the name of bhakti, in the name of spiritual life, or how much should we um, let them manifest themselves and things like that? So any thoughts on this? So I know this is yes, somebody had yeah, Lekha Mataji.
Hi Krishna Prabhu. I just had a few thoughts, and this is actually like more like a check of my understanding. So one thing is, what I've realized is, I've been pondering about this a lot, and I actually feel like most of my suppression actually comes because somehow, in inside of myself, I'm thinking, I'm putting myself in a higher pedestal, in a higher pedestal as a devotee. I'm like, oh, I'm this kind of a devotee, so I need to behave like this, hence I cannot have thoughts like this. But the very fact that I'm getting whatever thoughts or whatever desires really means that that's where I am. And just by following the framework of bhakti, like reading, chanting, we actually evolve spiritually, mentally. I've observed that our thoughts, our practices, our maturity, our understanding of happiness and desire, all of that automatically improves. So I feel like we need not stress too much about it, but we should definitely be very careful about what regulate the content that we see, that we hear, that we speak. And just with respect to like physical health, I personally believe that physical health is equally important. Is equally important as much as mental and spiritual health is, because there is enough neuroscience evidence to say how like our mental alertness, our mental peace, our health, everything is like actually really connected to a lot with our physical activity. So we should definitely give equal importance to all of it. And if most of us are doing desk jobs, then that already means we have to extend ourselves and try to find other means to like really regulate our physical health, and that has some correlation with mental health. And just by doing enough sadhana, and hearing and speaking and discussing about the right content, our mental health also eventually gets better. I just feel like all of this is already there in the process, and we need not stretch ourselves way too much to like try to understand how else to
I see.
regulate this. Yeah, sorry, I think I spoke very superfluously, but
Oh,
this
no,
is
no,
the
this is true. This is true. Many of the things are there in the process itself. If we follow it as it, like for example, when I was younger and I used to live with devotees, there would be physical exertion in the sense that we would dance like crazy during Mangal Aarti, right? So that is like in one sense workout. Of course, we didn't see
yeah,
it like that. We didn't
yeah,
see it like that, but that was a physical workout.
yeah.
Everybody would be perspiring after that, and
Mm,
that used to be there. And of course, there would be a lot of hearing and reading that would happen, which was which was there, which helped, which helped with a lot of clarity. But then again, right, the process itself is not enough many times, because even in that situation, I would see that, some devotees weren't happy. In fact, my health had also taken a toll that time. My health,
mm,
although we used to do all that, but then because of waking up too early in the morning, my
mm,
health
mm,
used to take a toll. It was
mm,
a blissful experience. It's always a
mm,
blissful experience to stay with devotees. But
mm.
then still that aspect was there.
Right.
And when I moved out of that association to stay with my mom, and when I
Mm.
started getting enough sleep, that's when I became more actually peaceful. Uh,
Right, right,
because my physical health was back under control. So
right, right.
yeah, it's there in the process, but then we have to like be really careful and see how it fits in our framework. So yeah.
Yeah, I definitely agree, Prabhu. Actually, I was also going to say that so what you had, right? So when you moved back with your mom, you felt much better. So then you not feeling better when you were, stretching yourself too much is already like a part of the process, because only when we go through extremes we actually know what our constraints are. And then being really self-aware of, okay, I'm a morning person, like this is what works for me. um So just being self-aware along with all of these variety of experiences that you have really define what really gives you mental, spiritual, and physical health. Like, I just feel like sometimes we have to go through stuff to I don't know if it's true.
Makes sense. Yeah. No, that's very true. That's very true.
If I may add, a very nice discussion. So yes, I agree to both of your thoughts. Just on one hand, just do what is necessary and do it with 100%, and then that itself will yield good state of health in terms of all three kinds of health. And the other hand, unless we push ourselves, we can't kind of propel in forward in bhakti. I remember this that where we can push ourselves is also important. Like, for example, let's say we are pushing ourselves in doing seva, let's say probably at the temple or somewhere, versus pushing ourselves in the family mode. So I remember Sukava Mataji always says that you are indispensable. Like, for example, wherever I am, as a mother, Radha has only one mother, can have only one, and so is everybody. But if I go to a bhakti center and let's say, for example, I'm saying, and then I extend myself to do lots of seva, and I'm doing, started with one, and then I started twice a week, and then I say 3 times a week, I keep doing it, and I'm pushing it. Then my seva there, anybody else can do. I mean, it's not like there is any unique seva that only one person can do. But most of the time, it is like that. And I can be replaceable, but I'm not replaceable at home. And I'm not, and I can probably be replaceable at work also. But there is a balance that we have to maintain, so that we do bare minimum stuff, so that we get our work done. But then where our contribution matters, we can always push ourselves, and we'll be happy to push ourselves, because we know that we are the only person who can do this. I don't know if I'm making sense. That is one point. Another point also is that that watering the root nourishes the rest of the tree. We keep hearing this often. From every single speaker, we hear this, and every time Prabhupada also quotes this: watering the root, watering the root. What is watering the root? It is our own connection with Krishna, be it through chanting or like remembrance every day, things like that. So we need to genuinely connect and water that seed of bhakti for us, and that will definitely show up in other areas. Yeah, that's all. I hope you were able to hear me. I don't know. I'm using a different.
Yeah. No, we could hear you, Mataji. Thank you for that. That is an amazing input. Where do we matter the most? Or rather, where does our presence or our effort matters the most? That is a very, very important point. We sometimes end up misunderstanding that point itself. So, which is very true. Yeah.
Hare Krishna, Prabhu.
Yes.
So what Nitya Mataji mentioned, it reminds me of the concept of prescribed duties. Obviously, among our duties, that the duties that we are born with, or we are put in a situation to do, when we do those duties, there is no papa or punya in those duties. There is no karma too. So those take highest priority, and after that, all the other duties come in. After that, maybe this is, I would love your thoughts on this. Sadhana really comes sadhana comes only after prescribed duties. So the place for sadhana is only after the prescribed duties are done. Or no, I shouldn't say after there should be enough room for prescribed duties in our life.
Mhm.
And so that was one point. The other point that I wanted to make with Nityamataji said is because, I also have a family member who's in a similar situation. And what she says is that, yes, I'm the only mother, and maybe Nityamataji, you can also help me with this. But once in a while, I need a break too, and so she needs a little bit of time off and sometimes she finds that service and volunteering helps her take her mind off, her regular responsibilities, because they can be pretty draining as well.
Oh yes, that will definitely come under self-care. Whatever nourishes us, right? I'm talking about just not like okay, you have to, whether as a mother we just have to be confined to just home and just do. Definitely self-care is absolutely important. Um, and if it means that we have to connect with our peers or connect with the community, definitely. But what we are saying is that the scale must not be tilted to serving more outside versus less inside the home. That is what I was referring to, because the services outside are replaceable, versus the services inside the family are kind of irreplaceable. And also, once the time is gone, um, you know, pretty much it's kind of lost, because the kids grow up so fast, and yeah. So once the time is lost, it's lost, and we don't have that. We cannot get it back. Whereas, I've seen so many devotees in that like that, who served their entire life for they moved into the temple, they served their entire life. Of course, Krishna is mercifully taking care of those people. But then, when I hear them, they said that wish it was different for me. Wish I had my focus on something else, like family or my spouse, and not spend too much time in serving the temple and so on. So, but I don't want it to be taken in a bad way that serving at the temple is bad, and that's not my point at all. But where it matters, we have to put, if we have to put extra effort where it matters. Um, then then
No, makes sense, Mataji. Makes sense. And to your point, Krishnan Prabhu, about sadhana coming after prescribed duty. So, what exactly do you mean by prescribed duty here? So, is it like prescribed duty within Krishna consciousness, or is it like just prescribed duty in general, your psychophysical nature?
No, it's prescribed duty as a person, as a human, first as a human being, then as a member of, because we all have roles to play. You're a son, or, I'm a son to my mother.
Correct.
I'm a husband to my wife. I'm a father to my children. I'm a breadwinner. Now, so these are duties that I have taken on,
Right.
because of my inclinations. Some were handed to me, like, my being a son and all that were handed to me. I didn't have much of a choice. Some that I took upon myself. Now, once I've taken those things up, they become critical prescribed duties.
Correct.
And now, I don't want to say that sadhana doesn't have a place, but But if both of them have a place, but prescribed duties, if you had to, if you had the last hour of the day and you didn't have any, or last 10 minutes of a day and you didn't have any time, and you had to make a choice between prescribed duties and sadhana, then I think our scriptures say that prescribed duties take precedence at that point of time.
That's a tough one. That's a tough question to answer, actually.
Yeah, even I shouldn't draw that conclusion. I think we should, maybe I should ask you folks, what is it? And
Yeah, so yeah, it's tough. We can't even take Arjuna's example, because Arjuna's prescribed duty and his sadhana were actually same in one sense, of fighting. That was his prescribed duty as well as his service to Krishna. So definitely in his case, but yeah, in our case. So one thing I think with prescribed duty, right? Yeah, we'll come to your question, Nupur. Why can't we include sadhana in the prescribed duties? That's a beautiful question, right? But just on the point of prescribed duties, right? Yes, as a son, definitely. As a son, as a father, for example, for me, I'm a very new father relatively in comparison to all of you here. Of course, Vamsidhar Gopal Prabhu is a newer father than me, but yeah, yeah, you know what I'm saying. So definitely that is an indispensable thing, and I really hope and pray that a situation doesn't come where I have to choose between that duty and my constitutional duty of being a devotee. I really dread that day when I have to make such a choice. So I hope that never comes, because I don't know what I'll do. But yeah, on the other hand, as far as when we talk about prescribed duties in terms of, for example, the occupation and things like that, that is also something that is taken as prescribed duty, right? So that is also often understood as, swadharma, that Krishna, you do your own swadharma, but you don't do other swadharma. So if you're a kshatriya, then, fight in a battle, and it's okay if you die. You will meet a glorious death. You will go to the heavens and whatnot. But if you're a kshatriya, don't do the duty of a brahmana, and vice versa. If you're a brahmana, don't do the duty of a kshatriya or a shudra, right? That, and of course, brahmana, kshatriya, vaishya, shudra categorization in today's world, we can do it, but when it comes to specific vocation, right, it's often not clear as to what my vocation is, right? So I am a software engineer, but it's not that I had a passion for it. It's not that I would always think about, I mean, it's not that I was always passionate about this since my childhood. So I always, sort of had that open thing. I didn't have a clarity of thought, and I just took it up because this was most viable in terms of my future. So that was my understanding in taking this. So, in understanding that swadharma, that prescribed duties in terms of your vocation, in terms of your occupation, is very, very difficult. So, in that sense, also, I think that if we get too caught into that aspect, again, I'm not talking about prescribed duty in terms of your family connections, family responsibilities. I'm talking in terms of the vocation. It's not. I don't know if it's too desirable to get too caught up into that thinking as well. That I have to find what I am, what is my vocation, my natural vocation, and things like that. So
certainly, Prabhu, but as far as your responsibilities as a caregiver and as a as a breadwinner,
yeah.
at least you can stop till there and not take it any further. Those will be important. But I just wanted to share one more point, which I heard a Christian pastor explain this. If you had to choose between prayer and preparing for a talk. Let us say he had to prepare for a talk, a sermon, and he had this last hour. He was just making I think an example, and he said that he would pick prayer over preparing for the talk.
Mm.
And his rationale was very interesting. His rationale was that God would help him in he gave prayer priority at that point of time, and he said that his vulnerability of not having prepared for his talk as much would not matter as much, as long as as long as he is he was sincere in his sadhana. That is what I got out of what he was saying. Because if he ignored his sadhana and allowed the time to in vain to preparing his talk so that he doesn't make a fool out of himself or something, that would not be as desirable to God. So that's the point that he was making. I don't know if that made sense, but all these these are theoretical things that we can
So I just wanted to mention a few things here, Prabhu, because this is one of my favorite topics about prescribed duties versus sadhana, or I would like to call it paramarthik versus vyavaharik responsibilities. So vyavaharik is our prescribed duties in the sense that are immediate, and paramarthik is our ultimate goal. So always, so the experienced devotees here, like for example, Krishnan Prabhu, Kameshwar Prabhu, who are like slightly older devotees, they would have experienced this many, many times actually, where clearly that conflict comes between sadhana and your service to family or something like that. It keeps coming up and repeatedly. When you're young, when you're in your 20s, you may not see this so much, but when you're in 40s, 50s, 60s, you'll start seeing this more and more. So basically, what Krishna says in the Bhagavad Gita, and even in the Bhagavatam, CC, everywhere this keeps coming up. I can give you references also. Even Chaitanya Mahaprabhu also mentions this several times, that if there is a conflict at any time between the two, like for example, let's say you're chanting your rounds in the morning, you're doing your sadhana, and there is an urgent need that you have to go take care of some family member, or somebody is hurt or something like that, or your daughter falls, or something happens like that, then immediately you drop your sadhana. You drop your sadhana and immediately address to the immediate. So in that sense, yes, we have to take care of vyavaharik when it comes to such immediate needs, but in terms of the ultimate or the paramarthik goal, we have to, that has to always be there in the background. That has to always be there. And throughout that, it's not be like, oh, that's a separate thing. Ideally, you should harmonize the two. You should harmonize the two, but it's not always possible. It's not always possible. And if you're not able to harmonize it, do the immediate, but always keep the ultimate in the background. I hope I'm like even Arjuna, when he was fighting, right, the battlefield, on the battlefield, he was fighting. He was not chanting Krishna, Krishna and releasing every arrow. He was fighting like as if he was like completely focused. But in the background, he knew that he was doing this as a service for Krishna. So similarly, if we, for example, when the conflict comes, do the vyavaharik, do your immediate responsibility, but in the back, see something more deeper, see the soul in the person that you're trying to help. Then it becomes harmonized. So that is how we have to create this harmony between the two. If you're not able, in the beginning stages of Krishna consciousness, it'll be very difficult to harmonize the two. But as you grow older and you mature in Krishna consciousness, you will find that that is the best solution, harmonizing the two. somehow merging, not separating the two, but harmonizing the two. Many times we think that, oh, this is a family life, I'm going to separate it from my sadhana. But harmonizing the two is the best solution. I just want to hear Kameshwar Prabhu also on this, because I know he's got a lot of experience in this.
Yes, sir. Prabhu, that is true. Many times when I am deviating from this principle, you corrected me many times. Many times I got benefit of your sayings, whatever you have done just now told. Many times I got benefit out of it. Like many times when I go home, when I have to sit before TV, before other family members are there, so I did it after hearing from you. It helped me a lot. Yeah, because I am not interested in this, so I don't want to watch you watch, like not like that, but it really helped me to be more practical in life, and also for doing bhakti also it helped indirectly. So whatever you said, the essence of which is to be always remembered by sadhaka. So that really golden words. Many times you have to put vyavaharik and paramarthik, harmonizing. These three words are very, very important words for any sadhaka. So that helped me a lot. So thank you very much for that. And again, I'm telling these three keywords are really essence to be followed by every sadhaka. That's all what I can add.
Thank you, Prabhu. Yeah.
Thank you, Prabhu. That was very, very helpful.
Very beautiful point about harmonizing the two. And I think that's what even Nupur was alluding to. Why can't we include sadhana in the prescribed duties? Yes, we have to do prescribed duty in the consciousness that this is sadhana. Yeah, and I've heard devotees also, Chaitanya Charan Prabhu says this often, that ultimately we have to reduce the gap, like the material and spiritual doesn't have to be like two mutually exclusive zones in our life. They have to sort of converge at some point. Yeah.
So
But
I'll just give some quick examples from the scriptures on this, because I don't want to sound like I'm just blabbering something. So Bhagavad Gita chapter 8 verse 7, Tasmat sarveshu kaleshu maam anusmara yuddhacha. So he says here, Krishna is saying maam anusmara, while remembering me, you should fight. So he's saying both, harmonize the two. You should not forget me. Krishna is not saying forget me. He's saying maam anusmara yuddhacha. So you should think of me, and while thinking of me, you should fight. In fact, this verse is very nice. Tasmat sarveshu kaleshu is when you should do. Maam anusmara yuddhacha is what you should do. Mai arpita manobuddhir is how you should do. And maam evaishyasi asamshaya is the result that you get. So when, what, how, and the result, all four are mentioned in the 4 lines of this verse. It's Bhagavad Gita 8.7. And it kind of addresses this point about immediate and ultimate. And so that is Bhagavad Gita. Now let's go to the CC, Chaitanya Charitamrita Madhya Leela, which we're actually reading right now in our Sunday readings. In the 15th chapter of Madhya Leela, this is verse 93, 95, and 96. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is saying about Vasudeva Datta. Vasudeva Datta was a very, you can say, a fanatic devotee who was not saving money, he was not taking care of his family members and so on. So immediately Chaitanya Mahaprabhu tells Shivananda Sen to take care of Vasudeva Datta very nicely. He says, being a householder, Vasudeva Datta needs to save some money. Because he's not doing so, it is very difficult for him to maintain his family. Please take care of Vasudeva Datta's family affairs, become his manager, and make the proper arrangements. So if only Paramarthik was important, why would Chaitanya Mahaprabhu tell Shivananda Sen to take care of Vasudeva Datta's material needs? So it's very important that we don't, as Nitya also mentioned, it's important that we don't neglect our material, our immediate people, because they cannot be replaced in one sense. We are the ones who are responsible for our children, our spouses, and things like that. And this, I'm telling you, as you grow older, many of you, you will actually face situations like this many times. So please, try to remember these things and do the immediately. So just. And I can give you examples from Mahabharata also, several examples, but I'll stop for now because we are over 10 o'clock.
So just one follow-up here. This is regarding activities that are our immediate duties, which we have to do.
Yes,
And
prescribed duty.
yeah, and we have to involve the, Ma Manuspara Yudhyacha, that aspect, right?
Yes.
What about the regulative principles of bhakti, like our chanting or our hearing, right?
Oh, yeah. So you have to draw the boundary, Prabhuji. So, for example, those you cannot compromise. So, regulative principles, your chanting, you cannot compromise on those things. Like, for all I'm saying is, if there is a conflict between the two, and then take care of the immediate, but don't forget the ultimate. After some time, you have to get back to your ultimate. That has to be done. We cannot ignore that. I'm not saying, okay, today I'm going to raise my hands, I'm not going to do any sadhana. I'm just going to focus on my taking care of my family, take them for vacation, and just be happy. It doesn't work like that. You have to do the needful at the vyavaharik level to get to the paramarthik level. So, like, for example, Kameshwar Prabhu gave the example of watching TV with his wife. If he were not to do that, then his sadhana would get affected in the end. Because then his wife will not be happy. And if his wife is not happy, he won't be happy. And even the consciousness with which he is doing his sadhana will not bear any fruit because he's not able to do it in the right consciousness. Are you following? I mean, the TV example is not an ideal example here, but yeah, I
get it. I get the spirit. Yeah. Yeah, that's very enlightening, Prabhu. Thank you.
I also got the spirit. I want to recommend a talk by Chaitanya Charan Prabhu. It's called The Life of Sacrifice and
Sacrifice of Life at Pune.
Sacrifice of Life, yes.
Yeah, that's a brilliant talk, actually. Even Radheshyam Prabhu was in the audience and he appreciated the talk very, very much. So I strongly recommend that. We can send the link on Life of Devotion.
Yes. That is on, he refers to Dadichi Muni's sacrifice here, and brilliant talk.
Okay. So yeah, thank you, dear devotees. It was an intense topic, and but the conclusion is very beautiful, and we can keep that in mind. As Kameshwar Prabhu mentioned, 3 words: Paramarthik, Vyavaharik, and harmonize. So with that, we'll end here. So thank you very much for your participation. वाञ्छाकल्पतरुभ्यश्च कृपा सिन्धुभ्यैव च पतितानां पावनेभ्यो वैष्णवेभ्यो नमो नमः। अनंत कोटि वैष्णव वृंद की जय। श्रील प्रभुपाद की जय। हरे कृष्ण।